Welcome to TV Recaps. Today I will be recapping a Korean crime drama. In the year 2025, North Korea had just opened its borders to the south and a new joint economic area was established, where the rich prospered and the poor suffered. Before we start, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for our channel. Please sit tight and enjoy the recap of the TV show, Money Heist Korea, Joint Economic Area, Part 2. For recap of Part 1, refer to link in description. Oh, and of course, spoilers ahead. The story begins with Park Sun-ho, aka the professor, standing shocked outside his cafe after an unexpected visit by Cha Moo-hyung, security captain of the Joint Task Force. Outside the heist, the professor is a cafe owner who is dating Son Woo-jin, crisis negotiator of the task force. Moo-hyung plays it off as a social visit but secretly sneaks into his storage room and steals a personal item from him, which he uses to run fingerprints through a police database. To protect his cover, the professor tasks Ryo to hack Moo-hyung's phone and fabricate fake messages to make him look like a spy for the heist team. Moo-hyung escapes arrest but not before uncovering incriminating details about the professor from his file. The professor tracks him down and drugs him before he could expose his identity. Woo-jin remains skeptical of Moo-hyung's betrayal and recalls that he is suspicious of the professor. Late at night, she searches his cafe for evidence of his crimes but could not find anything suspicious. The professor breaks up with Woo-jin, not allowing his emotions to compromise the success of the heist. The Inter-Korean Economic Cooperation Summit is taking place in a few days. Under pressure to end the heist, Kim Sung-mun, Woo-jin's ex-husband and an influential congressman, states in a public broadcast that full immunity will be granted in exchange for the hostages' safe release. Woo-jin learns from Sung-mun that a member of the heist team has contacted him, and an operation is underway to kill An Kim, the U.S. ambassador's daughter currently held hostage in the Mint. Sung-mun plans to use her death as a reason to charge into the Mint. To save her life, Woo-jin warns the professor that An's life is in danger. Fortunately, the assassination attempt fails. Division amongst the heist team grows as they accuse each other of being the traitor. Meanwhile, the hostages have helped Park Chul-woo, a captured Special Forces operative, get free of his restraints. During a visit by Oslo, Chul-woo catches him off guard and knocks him unconscious with a baseball bat. Coincidentally, Woo-jin has figured out that the heist team is printing money and cuts off the Mint's electricity to stop them. The heist team rushes to turn on the backup power. The professor notifies them that the hostages are escaping through the loading dock exit. Amidst the chaos, Chul-woo sneaks into the communications room and calls Woo-jin, requesting for assistance to help them escape. He destroys all communication equipment in the room, severing all contact with the professor. At the loading dock, the police breach the exit with explosives and engages the heist team in a firefight. Tokyo forces them back with overwhelming firepower. As the team is distracted by the police, Chul-woo directs the hostages to the roof, where a soft landing pad has been placed below for their escape. Berlin realizes the hostages are gone and rushes to the roof, grabbing Anne in midair as she leaps off. Half of the hostages have escaped, and Oslo has bled to death after the attack. Helsinki, Oslo's blood brother, is heartbroken. Frustrated, Berlin flares up and demands the traitor reveals himself. He collapses from a seizure and Ryo finds out he has Huntington's disease, an incurable illness. After waking up, Berlin suspects that the traitor is either Tokyo or Ryo. He ties them up and interrogates them in front of the team. Berlin concludes that Tokyo is the traitor and tries to push her out of the Mint. Nairobi stops him and confesses that she is the traitor. She apologizes and explains that she only did so to protect her son, who has been kidnapped by Sung-mun. As it turns out, this was Berlin and Tokyo's plan all along to flush out the traitor. Tokyo promises Nairobi that she will rescue her son and re-establish contact with the professor. Berlin proceeds with the plan and pushes Tokyo out of the Mint. She is immediately arrested by the police. Moments later, Berlin comes out holding Anne at gunpoint and demands to speak to the former warden of the prison camp, Chon Young-soo, where he was imprisoned. Woo-jin senses something is amiss and interrogates Tokyo under a lie detector to get answers. Tokyo flies into a rage and threatens to kill Woo-jin. For fear of her safety, they transfer Tokyo to a secure facility. Mid-drive, Tokyo's police car is intercepted by Seoul, the second in command of Berlin's gang, who has been tasked by the professor to rescue her. Next, they drive to Sungmun's villa, where they suspect Nairobi's son is being kept. Once there, they stream the rescue operation live on social media so that the public can witness it in real time. Tokyo and Seoul take out the villa's security using rubber bullets, not killing anyone in the process. They successfully rescue Nairobi's son and leave him in the care of Woo Jin. Back at the Mint, Sungmun declares the heist a terrorist attack and takes over the task force, kicking Woo Jin from the team. Yang-soo arrives for his meeting with Berlin. Berlin directs his attention to the live feed, where Seoul reveals that she is the stepdaughter of Yang-soo and has been violated by him as a child, and that Sungmun is responsible for child kidnapping and the attempted assassination of Anne. They have swayed public opinion in their favor and ignited a rise in anti-government sentiment. Later at night, Rio clarifies he is not interested in political revolution and is only in it for the money. Berlin reveals he only took part in the heist to ensure the success of the professor's plan, who is his brother. Rio is shocked by the startling revelation. In a flashback, the professor meets his long-lost brother, Berlin, for the first time. When they were defecting to South Korea, only the professor and his father made it across, while Berlin was caught and sent to a concentration camp. He presents their late father's plan to Berlin and enlists his help to finish it. For the plan to be a success, the heist must look like a revolution, a fight against the rich and powerful. In the present, the heist team makes a new proposal to the remaining hostages. They are free to leave, but those who stay to help will be rewarded 3 billion won each. 15 hostages decide to leave, the rest are staying. Denver announces that Mi-son is staying. She has confessed her love for Denver and is only staying to be with him. Moscow, Denver's father, notices his relationship with Mi-son and tells him she is suffering from Stockholm Syndrome and not actually in love with him. The same happened to her mother, who was a hostage in Moscow's bank robbery. Another plan is put in action on the day of the hostages' release, Tokyo's return to the Mint. Under cover of drones and frightened hostages, Tokyo rides a bike straight into the Mint. Tokyo has returned with an important message from the professor. He predicts the summit will be brought forward and a full-scale assault will be launched once it is over. The heist team starts preparing for an early escape. Denver finds out Moscow has been shot during Tokyo's return and is bleeding to death. With his last breath, Moscow gives his blessing to Denver and Mi-son. The group grieves the death of Moscow. To honor his dying wishes, the team continues digging the tunnel out of the Mint. Moo-young has been kept a prisoner at the professor's new hideout. He manages to escape but gets run over by a speeding car. The professor finds out he is in a coma and is not an immediate threat to their plans. Woo Jin visits the professor and they get back together. However, a conversation with him sets off Woo Jin's suspicions again. She looks up his personal information and discovers he is a North Korean refugee who is registered as dead. Woo Jin finds his new hideout and catches him red-handed. The professor explains that the newly printed money, allocated as funding for reunification, have unknown serial numbers and are untraceable and would have gone into the pockets of corrupt politicians. He plans to expose their scam. She hesitates and lets her guard down. He grabs her gun, knocks her unconscious, and handcuffs her to a pipe. The heist team finally completes the tunnel and meets the professor on the other side. All the money has been printed and is moved underground to be transported. The summit ends earlier than expected and orders are given by Sungmun to execute an all-out invasion. An army of heavily armed soldiers break into the Mint. The heist team hold out for as long as they could before escaping underground. Unfortunately, the bomb they installed to collapse the tunnel has malfunctioned. In an act of self-sacrifice, Berlin volunteers to stay behind and hold off the police. He calls the professor to say his final goodbyes.
I'll be waiting for you with Father.
Seoul comes back for Berlin, ready to die by his side. She shoots the bomb, triggering an explosion and sealing off the tunnel for good. Meanwhile, Woo Jin has escaped her cuffs and notifies the task force about the location of their hideout. Moo-young, who has woken up from his coma, confirms the information is accurate. The police arrives but arrests Woo Jin for colluding with the robbers. Although their hideout has been exposed, the professor discovers another way to escape. They trek through long stretches of darkness to finally emerge on the other side, where trucks are ready to pick them up. The police learns that explosives have been planted underground near Pyongyang Square, where protesters against the summit have gathered. However, there were no explosions. Instead, giant balloon pigs emerge and float over the city. They burst and freshly printed bills descend from the sky into the arms of protesters on the square. At Kisung train station, the team has loaded the money on the train and is preparing to leave. Unexpectedly, the professor receives a call from Berlin. To the relief of the team, both him and Sol have survived. As the train is leaving, Woo Jin appears. She has escaped arrest with Moo Hyung's help. She could not bring herself to kill the professor and watches in anguish as he boards the train and leaves. The team's exploits reach news outlets worldwide, exposing the plans of corrupt politicians to fill their own pockets with printed money which are untraceable. A year later, Woo Jin visits Kherson, a port city that the professor wanted to visit. They meet again, this time under happier circumstances. The professor entices her with a new plan.
In the history of crime, it'll go down as a revolution.
The end. Please stay tuned for the next TV recap. Comment below on what you liked or disliked about our video. Thank you for watching.